So that's a big ulcerated plaque. We have done a CT also on this patient, but I can't show you the image because it doesn't loop here and it's not integrated. But there is a calcified plaque in the infrarenal abdominal aorta and which is ulcerated, and almost it's like a really bad shaggy plaque there.
And Dr. Khanna, the distal runoff is good?
The distal runoff, we couldn't feel the pulse on the left side, and on the right side the pulse was very poor, and we haven't seen the runoff in the lower limb, but as per the Doppler, there is no stenosis in the femorals, popliteal or below knee vessels.
As I see, there is a stenosis at the origin of both internal iliacs. So,
True.
Is a kind of a consideration when you're going to stent the iliacs apart from aorta, or no consideration?
I probably don't think those are important because there is an extensive collateralization in the pelvic area. And I don't think we are going to sort of, once we stent across these iliacs, we are not going to occlude either of them. And the patient doesn't give any history of pelvic ischemia or a rectal problem.
All right, I think the decision, any thoughts from the panel, Samir? How would you do it?
We can either put just an extension limb in the distal aorta, not going into the iliacs, or you can put a bifurcating stent graft from the renal down into the iliacs, cover the proximal right common iliac, and the left side of the common iliac looks okay, but that's what that would be one. There will be two options there, two choices there. What kind of graft are you planning to use?
I actually am not planning to put any graft. What I want is just to put in 2 stents in the external iliacs up to just before the bifurcation of aorta, and then extend this up and extend the carina all the way up to below infrarenal region above that ulcerated plaque. So I want to not meddle with this. And I don't think, once we do this, there will be a risk of aortic trash or a rupture. That is what my philosophy is, but I'm open to suggestions.
But I would have imagined that if you had put a covered stents in the iliac, the restenosis possibility is clearly less than a conventional stent.
If you closely look at it, if you put a covered stent, you mean covered stents recreating the carina or
No.
putting in a stent graft?
I would put a separate stent in the aorta. I would probably use a balloon expandable stent in the lower portion of the aorta, and then put 2 covered stents from either iliac coming into the aorta.
True.
And that is why I was worried about the narrowing of the internal iliacs. If you're putting a covered stent, which is going to go across the mouth of internal iliacs.
Actually, that was my strategy also, but that would have worked well, if we had the stent graft, if we had a stent graft here, but we don't have an atrium in this lab, and the only stent graft we have is a wall graft, and this wall graft doesn't fit into the size, so I have a real apprehension if I stent with a wall graft in the aorta, it may actually come into one of the iliacs.
The only concern is when you see such an ulcerated plaque in the aorta, if you put a non-covered stent, there's a fairly good chance of distal embolization from the cholesterol particles there. And therefore, when somebody has that much of an ulcerated plaque in the aorta, a covered stent, if you have, would be preferable. If you don't have,
yeah, we don't have it right now. If I had, I would have definitely used it. I would have used 3 atriums, 1 in the aorta, abdominal aorta, and 2 into the iliacs, and then extended that with a non-covered stent. That would have been my strategy, because that's the area where the maximum calcium and the plaque is. But short of that, we just want to do it simple like this.
I wouldn't worry about the internal iliacs, because if you are putting a non-covered stent there, even if you curve the internal iliac, you can always go through the strut and dilate the internal iliacs. As long as one of them is open, you'll be all right. On the left side, there is some cuff that you have in the internal iliac, so you should be all right there. On the right side is ostial, so it may close, it may not close, but as long as you got one good internal iliac, you're okay. So I think the only disadvantage of putting in 2 stents and recreating the carina is, in the future, if you want to come down into the infrainguinal vessels, it might become difficult.
It could be difficult, but if you want to come from radial or brachial, it shouldn't be that difficult. Because we are,
And,
what,
you mentioned a gradient of 60 millimeter.
60 millimeter
That was
acro-
between which 2 points?
between the suprarenal aorta and the femoral. So, we don't know between, it's not like now we can do a segmental pressure analysis here. So what we get here is the 60 millimeter pressure gradient, and we have to work with the limited stock which we have for
Why
vascular.
not just put a covered stent in aorta and get away with it? Because what do you think is causing the symptoms in this gentleman?
I think it's the aortic bifurcation lesion and also the lesion in the external iliacs on the right side. Because we have seen that in CT, this is a angio which you are seeing here, but I have seen the CT, the tightest lesion is at the aortic bifurcation.
All right, so what is your plan, Dr.
Okay,
Khanna?
so with the limited hardware I had, my plan initially was to do a covered stent in the aorta and then have 2 non-covered stents or 2 atriums down to recreate the carina inside that. But since we do not have that, the other option which we found that we want to recreate the carina and start stenting, a double barrel stenting right from the infrarenal aorta down above the plug down to the external iliacs on both sides.
Sounds good,
So,
yes.
so can I go next?
Yeah, next.
Okay, so this is, we try to wire it, just I wanted to show, if you want to wire, you should always take a pigtail and rotate it. Otherwise, with this sort of an ulcerated plug, you can easily go subintimal and create real problems. So here, what we have done with the help of a pigtail, we are going up with the wire. Next. And again, this wire gets stuck here. Next. So again, with the help of a catheter, we go up and we pass in 2 magic torque wires. Next. Next. So then we take a 5 millimeter balloon on either side. This is also good for measuring, and we want to just create a space where we can pass in our stents. And this is a dilatation with 5 millimeter balloons on both sides. This is right from the aortic bifurcation. Next.
What diameter is that?
These are 5 millimeter diameter either side and 60 millimeter in length. And then we dilate the external iliacs. Next. Go next. And then the external iliac on the right side. Next. Go next. And then we take both the balloons up. Next. And then dilate simultaneously in the abdominal aorta. And these are 2 5 millimeter balloons. And here we also sort of size it, and we know that what size of stents we are going to use. Go next. Next.
Dr. Khanna, since the patient has some renal compromise, are there ways to save on contrast by...
Yes. What we are doing here is, one that we are using a 50-50 contrast. The other thing is we are doing a mapping or marking on the fluoroscopic screen, and we are using the bony landmark, and with the help of that we are sure that we are going to be saving contrast, but at the same time we don't want to save on a contrast and miss a small perforation or dissection in the aorta. So we do have to, our plan is to minimize the contrast to about 50 ml, and I think we are nearly close to that.
So can't we do something like trace subtract where you have an image permanently fixed there? And
We
you
can actually, but this lab doesn't have that. And the other thing is we are working in one field. We are not able to cover the external iliacs and the abdominal aorta in one field. So we have to do it in 2 different frames.
Maybe the image intensifier size. Khanna, another question. Have you used
Go
carbon
next.
dioxide as a contrast medium?
Not here, but in my lab I use carbon dioxide in these sort of cases, and it's very good for infradiaphragmatic lesions, so it's pretty good, and you can easily do the procedure with no contrast or a very minimal contrast at the end of the procedure.
Particularly with the renal compromise, it is a good contrast.
Okay, so what we have done here is, just for the go minus, we have put 2 8 in, go minus.
Minus.
2 8 into, no, come back, minus. We have put two 8 into 60 millimeter stents on either sides covering the external iliac lesions. And after that, we want to put two 10 into 10 millimeter epics to recreate the carina. So we have done this. Now the problem is while going on the left side, the stent passes through. From the right side, the stent still doesn't pass through. So we have taken a 7 millimeter balloon and we are going to dilate this now. This is 7 millimeter?
Yes.
Okay, go up. So this is where we are right now. Go up. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. 6. Deflate.
Yeah.
Okay. Come this side. So we are here. Now we are going to take two 10 millimeter into 10 millimeter epic stents and then go with the stents up. Hold.
It's not deflated.
Okay. Get me another stent. So do you think, because we need to stent the external iliacs first because they are smaller diameter vessels and we can only put a 10 millimeter inside a 8 millimeter and not the other way through.
80. So we take 10 into...
10 into 10, both 10 into 10.
Yeah.
This is 10 into?
1080.
Okay.
Anyway, we have checked it.
No, then we
Go little
take
up.
1080, two
1080,
1080.
another 1080.
Dr. Khanna,
Yes?
suppose if you try the
1080?
reverse strategy, that means you first put the stents into the aorta to the iliac extension and then extend down below, like A followed by the B, whereas right now you are doing B followed by the A. Does it make any difference?
It actually does because then we will have a the 10 millimeter stents above would be ending into iliacs and then you are putting a 8 millimeter stent which is hanging inside the 10 millimeter stent. So that is not a good strategy. It's going to probably lead to a lot of stent thrombosis, chances of stent thrombosis. So that's not a good strategy. I mean, as a standard strategy, it has to be the lower profile stent first and then to be telescoped with a higher profile stent. So now this stent goes easily, go up,
Come down.
and
Yeah, that's location, sir.
what we are going to do is do a simultaneous kissing stenting here at the,
Yes. Just
it's okay,
shows. Sin
shows the, so we are
minus-
covering the stents properly.
Yeah, but what are the chances of foreshortening from the trailing end here?
Usually epic stents has a very little foreshortening. So this is not a stent like a wall stent where the foreshortening is a big issue. What is going to happen once I deploy this, what you will see is the stent is going to jump. So we have to be sure to pull it back and that is why we have got two stents as a marker.
So they go up simultaneously or one after other?
They go up simultaneously, but I'll show you how we do it.
Shall I open left?
Just 1 second, no, move on. So you see this, now this stent is flared up, I'm going to stop here, so this will be like a marker for the other stent, and then I'm going to deploy the other stent.
We'll come little down, sir.
Yeah. And I would definitely first go up because this is going to jump, and then I'm going to pull it back. So once I have a double funnel like this, then my job is easy. So they are like, they are not going to saddle one over the other. So once I'm done like this, I'm going to wait for about 30 seconds because the nitinol would take some time to adjust to the aortic wall. And once it is fixed there, then I'm going to release the other part of the stent. So this is what I follow every time, and I could be mostly, I have never got into problems being precise, putting in two self-expanding stents. So I have done the left side, now I'm going to do the right side. This stent also must be fixed right now. Okay. So I'm done. So what now I'm going to do two kissing balloons by 8 millimeter balloons on either side, and that should probably do the trick because I don't want to overdilate or because these are self-expanding stents and there is a ulcerated plaque which I don't want to disturb much. My idea is to just open the aortoiliac stenosis and cover the ulcerated plug in the aorta to prevent the trash.
Two 10 mm balloons.
So all of you
take
must
eight
have
balloons?
realized that Dr. Khanna deployed the, amongst the aortic stent, one stent was deployed only minimally, just a few millimeters, which allows him to pull down the stent in case if
One
he
eight
is
or 10
required to.
No, we want 1,
Deployed
7,
the
1, 8 or
second
2,
one,
8.
matching the
Whatever
first
we have
deployed
but
stent.
fast.
Yeah,
And
get
then
the
continue
detail
with
rate.
the
880.
deployment. So this is how you are going to get the
have
upper
another
ends
60?
of the stent in one particular line.
Yeah, it's the same. Give
Okay,
it.
what is this?
No problem.
Take the other 8.
Yeah, both.
And the gradients which we are seeing, there is no gradient right now. We have already abolished the gradient. Get the other balloon on the other side. Okay. Sometimes, you know, these, because of the calcified spicules, these balloons may get stuck, so you just have to pull down, rotate, and then push it up. These are 7 and 7 or 8 and 8?
Both are 8.
So we'll go with
860.
low pressure.
So what are the stent diameters you are used, 8 and 10?
No. Yeah, 80 millimeter in length and 10 millimeter in diameter. Okay.
Just
Just-
dial it.
No. Just have to rotate. Okay. So this is very simple, you know, when they get stuck, just pull it back, rotate and then push. Normally they catch it on the calcified plaque, and it's very important whenever you are doing such patients, always do a CT, because that gives you the real picture inside rather than relying only on two-dimensional angios.
Okay.
Okay, we'll only go low pressure, okay?
Yeah.
4 or 6 or 6, something like that. No, you go with this.
Yeah.
Hold this.
These balloons usually have a long overhang. So do you still want to keep the markers there, or you want to come down?
6.
little?
No, I think they are fine. We are just going low pressure, deflate. Because they have shoulders,
Yeah. Wait, leave it
okay?
for some time.
Our purpose is not to expand it there, our purpose is to expand it below. Okay, go up, low pressure. Just low pressure, 4 and 4.
4.
Okay, that's fine. Deflate. Now we do at the bifurcation and at the overlap. Okay.
Yeah.
Just center the table. 4 and 4.
Stay at 4. Maintain.
4, stay at 4, 4 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Deflate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Go. 4 and 4. Center. Remember, the optimal balloon pressures in peripheral balloons are normally 4 to 6. So unless they are high pressure,
Maintain
on
4.
this one, you go to 6, on the left one.
6.
Left one. You're on the left one?
No.
Okay. Deflate. So never be going to coronary pressures because unless it's a non-compliant balloon. So now my next step is to take a pigtail up and do a final shot, and let's see what we have there. If we had an FFR, I would have also checked that renal on the left side and seen if there was a significant gradient, we would have probably stented that renal, especially in the view of history of hypertension, renal failure, early renal failure, and, renal artery stenosis. But that's an optional thing, and if I had an FFR and I was convinced, I would have probably done that for the future protection of the renal functions. What is your view on this? Hello?
Yeah, we are listening to you, Doctor.
So what would be your take on the renals? Because the left renal has a stenosis, but only a borderline stenosis.
No, actually, we need to see the renal images
Okay,
again.
can you play the first angio? Pictel?
Fix the
Fix
renal.
the
Fix
renal.
it. Fix.
Okay.
Yes.
Usually it is a borderline.
Yeah, it is borderline, so that's why I said maybe an FFR may help, renal FFR, because there's a lot of literature now saying that if you have a renal artery stenosis which is borderline and you have a FFR less than 0.8, probably these patients may benefit in terms of preserving renal functions, not in terms of controlling hypertension.
Okay. Dr. Khanna, we have got 10 minutes more to go.
Yeah, we are almost done. Okay, you're going to Dr. Manjunath's lab or?
No, he has done BMV very well, excellently, good demonstration, and he has done with the case.
Okay, super. Let's go on the other side. Give me another balloon here, 7 millimeter balloon on this side. Hold this.
We'll
this.
take from the left
Other
side.
side, yeah.
Yeah.
Your injector is ready?
Mostly it goes from left.
Holding?
Yeah.
Show me. Move the table. Okay, so. Ah. That's interesting.
Is it the same calcification?
There is a thick calcification where it catches, so I will again try to rotate it or maybe take a different wire or dilate it once more. So this is not a stenosis, but this is because the stents are well expanded, but it is some spur of calcium which is,
Suppose if you go with a right coronary catheter and change the wire,
yeah, I will do that.
upgrade
If-
the wire to little stiffer one, will it
Yeah,
make it?
definitely, that would be my strategy. I'll do that right now. Give me an RCA and give me an
Give us
Emplatz
the-
wire.
Yeah.
Or simpler, maybe try going from the other groin. It might just go.
Yeah, I would do that as well in the meantime. Because I had a little problem when I went with the pigtail on the right side, so I changed it to the left side. But I think it's better we change it to an Emplatz wire.
Emplatz are extra stiff.
Because Magic Torque is a floppy wire with a floppy distal 5 to 10 centimeter. It's- Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Go up. Give me an Emplatz wire. Hold this. And I'll need the
Yeah,
balloons
give us the
again.
pigtail, sister.
Show up. Up, up.
That's the pigtail.
And every time you're using an Emplatz wire, especially in patients who have coronary artery disease and grafts, it's better to go without wire with a pigtail to the ascending aorta and then introduce the stiff Emplatz wire. Otherwise, you can have an arch atheroma and an embolism into the cranial circulation. Hold this.
Yeah.
Put. You ready with the pressure injection? Can we do a DSA?
Yeah. DSA, but we can't see both ends. You can see upper
Okay,
end.
fine.
Come down. Come down.
Here we.
No, not yet gone. Yeah, now we are. Yes, yes.
So this wire looks better. So I can pass in easily. Okay. Pigtail. And
Would you like to do the DSA picture or
Pressure
conventional
inject.
coronary?
if I have to do a DSA, it has to be then in 2 stages because we can't move the table. So I was thinking of a conventional coronary. Pull back. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's good. That's fair enough.
Okay.
Okay. And
Go on a coronary frame. And how much of dye you are giving?
25, 40.
20 is enough.
Yeah.
15, 14 at 1100 or 9, 10, 1000 psi.
Yeah. Sir. Flush. Flush.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
fine,
be fast.
fine. Okay, done,
Okay, go.
done.
Fine, just
Yeah,
move the table.
done. Move and show.
Okay, pan the table. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Go.
Yes.
No, no, you don't have
No,
to
no,
fix. You have to move the
You
table.
have to move. It's
This
not
is non-DSA.
Non-DSA. Just change first.
So,
Some-
Dr. Khanna, I mean, what are we trying to suggest in a severely atherosclerosed vessel like this?
Okay.
You are very gentle on your inflation pressures, isn't it?
Yes. Because these are compliant balloons, and if we really have to dilate, now I'll take Mustang balloons and then dilate with high pressure with those balloons. Because I don't want to displace the plug and I don't want any trash. Okay. Go down. So this looks good. You can't see the ulcerated plug now because it's well covered. The only thing I need to work on probably is to go down and work on the iliacs with a little, high, non-compliant high-pressure balloons. And the renal is something which I'm going to probably, I'm not too sure. If we had a FFR, we would have done it. Do you want a DSA on this? Or you think it's okay? Because I don't want to give a lot of contrast.
I believe there is always a renal dysfunction in this.
Yeah, so I think it's fine. What you see is the aortoiliac lesion is opened up well. All the external iliac lesions are fine. There is a decompression. The dye is not sticking into the ulcer. It's very well covered. And also, what you are seeing is the collateralization has decreased in a major way. So that again signifies that the antegrade flow is good.
That will connect to sheath.
So
Give me a
good
press.
result, Dr. Khanna. I think we have about...
And if you see on the monitor, if somebody can show me this,
Yeah,
Monitor.
No gradients.
there is zero gradient.
It's an
You've got
excellent
a-
job.
It's coming there.
Oh, it's coming up there, yeah, so,
I think we are going to delink in another 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right, Padmanabhan? We are going to delink now?
Yeah, we'll be delinking in another 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
give me another balloon for the right side. Yeah, 7 millimeter.
I think both Dr. Khanna and Dr. Manjunath moved at 2020 speed. So we finished before time.
Yeah, because we knew you were moderating, so we had to be fast.
All right, any questions? Otherwise, we close this session. Thank you, Dr. Khanna and your team. Thank you for all the panelists who are on the stage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.